Yeah. Do we know what we're going to be morphing? Who knows? I don't even know what green morphs are legal in the format. So it'll be very interesting to see kind of where we've decided to take this deck, but just give us one moment. Looks like we got a nice and clean elf start for Kevin and Eric out there. Just looks like tap land go. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not cool. I mean, like, why is there an elf that is right side up? I mean, I hear mono green morphs. I want things upside down. I want Dem Protectors. I want Deathmist Raptor. Oh, Deathmist Raptor. All right.
Just cast though.
Oh man, I haven't seen this thing since like I was in college, which is probably about the time of said dinosaurs.
Yeah, I've never played in a format where morphs were legal in standard, so this is brand new for me.
It's like Cloak, but without the detective hat.
Yeah, so not nearly as cheesy.
No. Deathmist Raptor, very awesome card because this is a very synergistic card in the Morph deck because whenever you wind up turning something face up, you can return Deathmist Raptor from your graveyard to the battlefield either face up or face down, which means they chain.
Yep, it's just doing some funky things. And Megamorph, too. It comes in with some counters, right?
Megamorph is, it enters with a +1/+1 counter on it. And Eric is doing something that I want to do. I want to read what the heck this card is that putting out. I don't even recognize that art, unfortunately.
Yeah, this is probably going to be what what our entire day is going to be with this deck is just like, what the heck's going on? And now we are supposed to not know what this card is.
Yeah, we are.
It's probably a Manifest Dread card because we did just flip the top card and put another one underneath. So, yeah. Oh, wait, yeah, that looks like I don't know what the card is, but it definitely, I recognize the art as being very Duskmourn.
Yeah, it's definitely something a little bit more new than Tarkir. But we are going to have an opportunity to try to match the art to what is going on over there.
Yeah, I believe we have a Defiant Survivor on our hands. So this one is a survival mechanic card. Survival being that on your beginning of your second main phase, if this creature is tapped, do a thing. This one just Manifest Dread, which is honestly pretty solid. You don't even have... Sometimes you can get lucky. Don't even have to morph your creature. You can just put it down, face down, and then turn it up later. Don't care about it.
Yeah. See, the cool thing about this synergy with the deck, too, is just the fact that having Manifest Dread is just Manifest, but you just do it from the top of your library. Or just the same thing is basically Morphing or Manifesting, which was another Tarkir mechanic. And this kind of do something very, very similar, where you can just put something off the top of your library. And since Manifest Dread is you look at two and put one under, you can choose a creature that doesn't normally have Morph, and all of a sudden your Land of War Elf is bringing back that Deathmist Raptor that did wind up eating the unfortunate Bitter Triumph that got cast here from Eric's side.
Yeah, and I believe it's what's the dragon mana creature card? Razagraz or something?
Yeah, it's like Razagraz.
Yeah, but it's basically a mana creature for dragons. It's honestly a pretty sick card. I'm a big fan. And it is in Rakdos, so it's not typically a color you see a mana dork in, but it does help you cast your big dragons a little bit ahead of schedule, and you know, it's probably what you want to be doing since you are in Rakdos colors. You kind of want to be playing some of those like kill spells, Thoughtseize, Fatal Push, all that stuff. And it just fits nicely on the curve, something really easy as you're starting to make additional colors of mana for the various dragons. And I added a few extra syllables, it looks like.
Yeah, it's Rivaz of the Claw right here. 3/3 Menace for 3 is already pretty solid, but like you said, just a dragon mana dork, and then during your turn, you can cast a dragon spell from your graveyard, and if you cast it from your graveyard, you basically get a finality counter.
Before they existed, so unfortunately we can't actually physically track it outside of just remembering, hey, this thing is a thing.
Yeah.
Now we have some mysterious creatures.
But we got a lot of different face down things going on the side of Kevin.
That's actually kind of interesting. So they have ward when they're on the backside because they're the cloak creatures instead of manifested creatures. So they're a little safer and stuff like that, but they're still going to have all the benefits of flipping from a morph. Just some wild synergies here.
Yeah, and in the meantime, Kevin has also been doing a little bit of a number on Eric's side of the life total race as well. 15 to 20 is what it looks like, and just looking at everything on the battlefield here, that card that Kevin wound up casting there was Hide in Plain Sight. So looking at the top 5, cloaking 2 of them and putting the rest on the bottom. This is basically Manifest Collected Company.
That cool. Really
I,
cool.
I
What
don't
the
know
heck?
that was a thing. You want to
I
hide a crater hoot behemoth under there later?
Yeah,
Like,
can't complain about that. I mean, they did this Coco last year. Now they're doing a non-creature Coco this upcoming set. Like, people who like to just spin the wheel are getting a lot of very fun stuff going on. And as we say that, Eric has played Goldspan Dragon. Great
Yeah.
enabler for multicolor dragon decks because those treasures are going to do a lot of heavy lifting on color fixing.
oh yeah. So this is not only going to be a kind of color fixer for the dragon side, but it's also going to be something that can ramp things out, as those treasures can be sacrificed to count for 2 mana. But right out of the get-go, we're going to see Eric swinging on in. As much as those creatures are upside down and cloaked and warded and everything, they don't fly, so they're not going to be able to block a lot of the dragons. So now that Eric has something big on his side of the battlefield, it's going to be up to Kevin to present a lethal clock and not just a ton of lands.
Yeah, but there's always some hidden reach, literally this time, that could exist. So that could be some pretty spicy things coming out of Kevin's deck. I believe we see a Shigeki coming out. It looks like we're casting.
Yeah, the Shigeki just wound up hitting the battlefield. One of the
Okay.
cool things about this is it's more valuable once it's there and you can activate its ability.
Exactly.
Channeling it and getting things back from your graveyard, that can kind of work, but your Deathmist Raptor wound up coming back when you're able to flip over from that manifest cloak, one of the upside down mechanics that Kevin wound up having there. So this board is very, very wide. And Eric is at 15, and now, I mean, we have to count. Remember, all these things are 2 that are upside down, so there's like 6 upside down damage. I believe that the one that wound up with the survival mechanic is 3. Deathmist Raptor is 3 as well, and Kevin even has to look at what's underneath to see if there's even more damage that could potentially come out here.
And it looks like we are flipping up a Flourishing Bloomkin. Now this, if you have brewed in Standard and are really interested in Mono Green Stompy, this is the card for you. It's how many forests you have, and when you turn it face up, just so many lands.
Yeah, there's 10 now all of a sudden, because I didn't even realize that this thing was basically like a pseudo explosive vegetation. You look for 2 forests, put one on the battlefield tapped, and then the other into your hand. So yeah, this Kevin's deck is kind of humming on all cylinders here.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense. If you're gonna play Morph deck, it's probably pretty mana hungry, so it's a good thing you're ramping out a bunch of cards, creatures, using your mana dorks, your elves. I think the Llanowar Elf might be doing a bit more heavy lifting than Rivaz on Eric's side.
Oh yeah, and Eric, without like a fatal push to deal with this Bloomkin, I think this just might be lethal right here. Or
I think we have a. Oh no, we're not even gonna bother casting. I think I saw a Shieldred's Edict in hand, but like sacrifice a 1/1 elf is probably fine.
Yeah.
And we are gonna technically see all of the face down cards because we are legally obligated to show our opponent. So it was another Bloomkin and another Raptor.
all right, so we basically had another face up 13 or face down, I guess technically 13 damage on the battlefield, and Kevin is going to wind up taking game number 1 in very impressive fashion.
Yeah, explosions from the upside down.
Yeah, I mean, that was basically, it was literally just the green deck kind of ramping into these spells. Like, okay, I don't want to use this as like a offensive term, but I have seen a lot of those cards in draft. I have seen a lot of the mechanic like Cloak and Manifest Dread be extremely powerful in the limited format.
Yes.
And now combining it with some of the cards from Magic's past in a format that is not as powerful as Legacy or Modern, but being able to play those cards in unison, Deathmist Raptor kind of coming back from the ether, and then having Hide in Plain Sight, which I'm going to be completely honest, I didn't know was a card.
Yeah, I'm sure most people were like, oh, when they were cracking some packs for Karlov Manor, were like, oh, this is just random bulk rare, and just threw it to the side. But apparently Kevin picked up all the ones that everyone was selling back to the bulk bins, and very, very happy to see just how much work it's putting in. Given that now, I guess you kind of figured there is a very high density of face down matters mechanics in Magic that honestly were printed in the past year. So being able to capitalize on that with a lot of the synergies that came from previous sets, such as the original Tarkir block, I believe Morph was a part of that entire like block.
Yeah, they had Megamorph and regular Morph. So like I think originally it was Morph, and then they went back in time and it was Megamorph, which is
Mm-hmm.
just Morph with a +1/+1 counter.
I mean, it's cute. It gives you more. It gives you more incentive to try and morph it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can't complain about that. It'd make your creature a little bit bigger.
Yeah, but these are even some of the cards like having the Bloomkin basically being, a branchwood armor on a stick that, like, when you
Mhm.
wind up flipping it face up, actually gives itself an additional at least 1 power, if not 2, if you do it on your main phase before attacks. So having all these kinds of things is very interesting because when I'm used to seeing a deck that is revolving around the morph mechanic, I'm used to seeing Dem Protector, which is just Megamorph Eternal Witness. I'm used to seeing that Deathmist Raptor that we wind up seeing and having like a lot of recursive synergy between the deck, but Kevin is just literally going for beatdown Stompy.
Yeah, which I mean, green is very good at that. As Mono Green Devotion is probably the premier beatdown Stompy deck that just combos its Stompy plan. This one just going a little more head straight into the board. We start with another mana creature. This one, or not a mana creature. This one is I forget what this guy is called, but kind of just does a lot of really cool things. It's a 1/2 that when you sacrifice it for, I believe, 1 colorless mana, it can destroy an artifact, an enchantment, or you can ramp as well. I believe it's just draw a card, put a land into play. It's basically a growth spiral on a stick. It's pretty cool, pretty fun. But we do see a much more commonly known card, a Reckoner Bankbuster, coming out from Eric, and yeah, just nice, simple, clean start. Just trying to get a little bit of additional card draw and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it looks like that from Eric's side, he's decided he's going to wind up being the control deck in this circumstance. Like, we saw last game there was a giant board from the side of Kevin, so having to be the one contending with that is going to be very, very difficult if you're from Kevin's side. But on the flip side, if you're on Eric's side, but if you're on the flip side and you wind up bringing in things like you have Brotherhood's End to wipe all of these 2-power things or Pyroclasms or stuff, it makes sense to also be bringing in those Reckoner Bankbusters from the sideboard.
Yeah.
And the one card that we're trying to figure out, which unfortunately had a little bit of a lag spike or something, the lights were blinking over here and the Scryfall was taking forever to do, but Insidious Fungus was the one that
that was the
being
card
played by Kevin here. And not surprising to see when Eric is probably going to be packing some of those artifacts in order to develop his board a little bit later on, like this Reckoner Bankbuster.
Yeah, it's just a good clean card, and it's really cheap to flip up too. Because remember, a lot of these mechanics that have came out recently allow you to just turn the card face up for its mana value. So being able to just turn something face up really cheap is very, very powerful. And we got another Bloomkin coming through, and this guy is going to be doing, what is it, 6 damage?
Yeah. And then
Absolutely
basically,
wild.
it looks like what wound up happening too is Kevin wound up activating the Insidious Fungus, which allowed him to grab another land, it ramped him forward into putting this Flourishing Bloomkin face down, and then being able to just flip it up for its basically full mana value, and then smacking Eric down here for 6. So Eric, Eric looks like he's missed land drops, but he hasn't.
No, the green deck is just grabbing a lot of lands from deck, hand, etc., etc. And I do see, I believe our card draw for the turn on Eric's side was a Thoughtseize, but it seems like we're going to be tapping all of our mana for something a bit bigger, whether it's a removal spell or possibly a Revaz. It looks like it is the latter, just trying to make sure we get mana ready for subsequent turns. But don't know how many turns are left.
Yeah, I mean, Revaz is fine if you have some giant payoff in your hand. However, Thoughtseize is not where you want to really be right now when you're already taking 6 and now 7 damage from this Bloomkin. You don't necessarily have the mana available to Fatal Push or something. So Eric's kind of thinking about like, hey, am I actually priced into blocking here?
Yeah,
He did actually wind up missing land drop number 4. I said, oh, he didn't miss land drops. Well, he did now. I cursed him.
Yeah, and it looks like, we are just going to put the Bankbuster under, going to throw it under the bus, and we're going to just chump right here. And yeah, just trying to at least keep our life total somewhat healthy as another face down creature. It looks like this one is a mysterious creature. So being the
cloaked.
Yeah, being the cloaked mechanic.
I do actually wind up seeing a Den Protector in Kevin's hand as well, but right now there's nothing being traded back and forth on the battlefield. So, I mean, Kevin's in a situation where he doesn't even have to throw that thing down right now because he's not going to get value out of it.
No, it's just currently waiting on seeing what big play is coming out from Eric's deck. I believe that's the bone something Dracosaur dinosaur dragon.
Yeah, the dinosaur dragon.
In hand, but we might start with a Thoughtseize instead, just trying to get a glimpse into what is cooking, see if we want to try and remove anything, etc., etc. What is kind of nice is that Thoughtseize is also going to give us a good understanding of what could be under any morph creatures, such as this morph card that it looks like Eric has decided to read, which is that Den Protector.
Yeah, this is something that like old fogies like myself will remember, but Eric's gonna have to wind up reading that one.
Mm-hmm.
But the good thing about this one too is that with creatures with power less than Den Protector's power can't block it. So back in the day, this used to be able to kind of sneak through a little bit of extra damage during the combat step. Unfortunately, when you're playing against a 5-color Dragons deck, Eric's things are probably going to be big enough to block this.
Yeah, usually dragons are pretty well known for having a reasonable amount of power.
Yeah, occasionally, but it is going to be the Den Protector that hits the graveyard here. Now, Eric can't cast this Bonehorde Dracosaur in hand, but there it is. Pyroclasm's going to hit the battlefield.
Yeah, so unfortunately, the Bloomkin is going to stick around. However, getting that mysterious creature is pretty solid, and it looks...
There was another Bloomkin, so yeah.
Yeah, that's... Honestly, that... It might seem weird sweeping the board for a single creature, but when that single creature can effectively be something as massive as a Bloomkin, that's pretty solid. And it looks like we're going to be channeling Shigeki this time, grabbing back that Den Protector.
Yep. So this is actually kind of like a little bit of a cool chain too, because Den Protector, Shigeki gets back Den Protector, then Den Protector can get back Shigeki, and then we wind up having a value engine right then and there. Hey, if you throw a Deathmist Raptor into the mix, well, good to go.
Yeah. Just being able to keep going over and over and over again, grabbing creatures from your graveyard, doing a lot of things that green knows that can do really, really well. And Eric's starting to kind of get between a rock and a hard place here, given that that Bloomkin is getting so big, and we just have not hit our lands. So the Ravaz is even more impactful.
Yeah, so we have an 8 power, 8 toughness Bloomkin on the side of Kevin, and now Eric's debating, do I go down to 3? I haven't drawn lands whatsoever, so the only thing I can do is maybe play a Fable the Mirror Breaker from hand. So yeah, Eric just has to take the damage and basically say, I hope you don't have like a Giant Growth as your last card in hand.
Yeah, and it looks like we may... So Kevin, even though we are playing Revealed, Kevin is going to be shuffling his hands. That way he can put a morph creature face down.
Yeah, which one is it? It could be anything.
Yeah.
The Elvish Mystic was the last card in Kevin's hand, so we know what the face down card in hand was, but we don't know which one of the cards the face down one on the battlefield is. Most likely going to be that Den Protector, is that can just flip up end of turn and get back Shigeki if we want to choose to do that. We see a Fatal Push drawn from Eric though, so still no land number 4, but now it's a little more appealing to potentially keep this Ravaz around and wind up just Fatal Pushing away this Bloomkin.
Yeah, I think just getting rid of the Bloomkin is going to be huge here, even though the Den Protector will be lethal on face up next turn if we do end up tapping it. But I guess we're just going to play a Fable here. Nice, clean, and simple. Just, get another body in play, make sure that we're able to continue blocking. I don't think that Goblin Shaman's ever going to make a treasure, but the discard draw is going to be huge to try and hit that next land drop, because I'm assuming Eric is just waiting for land number 6 for some big play, or mana number 6, excuse me.
Well, if Eric is unfortunately not a fan of Den Protector and having read the card just earlier this game, may not realize that Ravaz is the only thing that can block said Den Protector right now, which means that we're priced into blocking the Bloomkin with the Goblin Shaman. If anything here is able to fight that Ravaz, it's just GG.
Yeah, because we have a guaranteed swing in. We are for sure going down to 2, because we're gonna have to trade off the Ravaz and then just chump the Bloomkin, and we have an additional bit of mana as well, which can can be pretty scary. That's a lot of mana being held up for any sort of morph flipping shenanigans.
Yeah, so now Eric is left with nothing on the battlefield, doesn't even have the mana dork in Ravaz available to cast another dragon from hand. We are going to have a draw discard effect from this Fable of the Mirror Breaker, but unless you wind up having something that's like red or deadly cover up or something, you're not going to be you can't even cast the deadly cover up at this point.
No, it's a little too late. And
Extinction?
Yeah, Extinction Event would be a reasonable one here. I mean, because we would call even here, and the mysterious creatures are even, given that they have no mana value. So we'd just be left with an elf, probably the safest thing. However, if there's enough mana, which I'm assuming based on how much mana is untapped, to flip over that mysterious creature, and it happens to be a odd mana value spell, we're just completely blown out.
Yep, and it looks like Eric doesn't have anything whatsoever. That's going to be the hand extended, and that's going to be Kevin with mono green morphs taking the match 2-0. We didn't know what was under the cards. His opponent didn't know what was under the cards, but Kevin knew what was in the cards as he was able to take victory there.